Thank you. And I do beg your pardon, all those who prefer me to be speaking through a microphone, and I do understand it. So I'd like to say welcome to everybody to this meeting of the Milton Road Local Liaison Forum. And before we commence the agenda, there are several matters that I would like to address. First is that you may see that there's a different lineup here, and this is because of the boundary changes. So that the only changes are that there are county councillors here from Arbury and from Castle. Because the county boundaries have altered, Castle now comes down including Mitcham's Corner and also Chesterton Community College, and Arbury commences from Gilbert Road along Milton Road to Ashford Road and takes in the presbytery at the church behind the library and goes up to Carlton Way. So therefore I am here for Arbury and my colleague Claire Richards is here for Castle. And also before we commence the meeting proper, everybody will introduce themselves, and there is also another change that I'd like to actually welcome Councillor Anna Bradner, because she's now on the County Council, whereas she was a District Councillor and co-opted in that capacity.
She's there as a District Councillor.
Still, yes, absolutely, but I'm just saying congratulations that she's now a County Councillor. The other issue that's been drawn to my attention is that item 1 on the agenda is the election of chairperson and vice or deputy chair if required. And our advice from Michelle Rowe, who is the Democratic Services Officer at the county, is that we do not at this stage need to do this election, because her advice is that I can remain in the chair quite legitimately, and my colleague, Councillor Jerry Bird, can remain in the vice or deputy chair legitimately because of the way that the rules operate at this stage. If anybody wants clarification on that, then I can actually email anybody who wishes absolute clarification on that, what the rule is, and episode and verse. So without further ado, I will hand over to our colleagues on the right to come along and introduce themselves so that everybody here is acquainted with who is on this side of the table. I'll have to pass the microphone.
Charles Lisbeck, Chair of Milton Road Residents.
Michael Page, Chair of Hurst Park Estate Residents Association.
Michael Bond, a lower form of life in Old Chesterton Residents Association.
You say no, Chesterton. Ian Manning, County Councillor for the New Chesterton Ward.
Ruth Yule, Democratic Services Officer, clerking the meeting.
Jocelyn Scott, Councillor for Arbury, and very sorry to see West Chesterton go into county terms. I enjoyed representing West Chesterton, as I will of course enjoy representing Arbury.
Councillor Jerry Bird for East Chesterton.
Marjorie Abbott, City Councillor for East Chesterton.
Mike Simon, City Councillor, West Chesterton.
Lisa Moschini, County Councillor, King's Edges. Claire Richards, County Councillor for Castle.
Martin Smart, City Councillor, King's Edges.
Yes, so welcome Councillor Fredman, yes. I've already advised that you're now a county councillor also. I also have to give apologies for Councillor Kevin Price and Councillor Peter Saris. Councillor Kevin Price will be along later, and Councillor Peter Saris has another engagement. He's taking care of a seminar speaker, and that is an arrangement that was entered into some considerable time ago. I also realised I should explain that the city boundaries are still the same as they were, and therefore we have councillors from East and West Chesterton, and no city councillor here from Castle, and no city councillor here from Arbury, because we're operating on the city council boundaries, which involve Milton Road, and the county council boundaries, which involve Milton Road. Now, the minutes of the previous meeting and matters arising. Are there any issues arising from the minutes of the previous meeting? They have been distributed. Yes, I could see no difficulty with them. Does anybody have any issue to raise?
What date are those minutes?
We shall have a look. Richard?
Monday the 8th of December.
Yes, the 8th of December.
Was that your last meeting?
As far as I'm aware, it's our last meeting, is Mr Taylor. I was not at another meeting of the local liaison forum, and if they come, I do apologise. I'm really sorry. I can only apologise that yes, we had another local liaison forum meeting, which was a local liaison forum meeting to which everybody was invited, and at that local liaison forum meeting we reapproved the resolutions that we had passed on the 8th of December. And the reason that we did that was because it was believed that because at that meeting of the 8th of December there had been minor amendments made, it was preferable to come back and to ensure that we all agreed that the amendments that had been made on that occasion were properly recorded so that they could go forward to the City Deal Assembly and the City Deal Board in a form that we had formally approved. So we did have that extra meeting, and I regret that the minutes do not appear to be here, but at the meeting that we will have in the future, we will make sure that those minutes are here, and we will approve them at the time that we approve the minutes from this one. And now we move to public questions. So are there any questions from members of the public that people would like? Yes. Now I do have to apologise, there is no roving microphone, so that if you would like to rove to this microphone and speak through this microphone, I'm afraid that that's maybe the best solution so that everybody can hear, and we just apologise for this.
I would like to know why the City Deal meetings have been delayed until July when everyone's on holiday.
Thank you. My understanding is that the City Deal meeting, which was to take, the City Deal meetings of the Assembly and the Board, which were to take place in June, have been transferred into July by reason of the general election and the fact that it was considered appropriate that this be done at a time when there was a general election pending, and it would be preferable not to be holding those meetings at this time. Now, if people wish to have any further explanation than that which I have given, I am very happy to pass this on to Councillor Herbert, and he would personally respond to this question if that is wished. Yes.
I think it would be useful, to get an explanation behind the decision. I appreciate you can't simply give it now, because I don't see the relevance of general election to a local liaison forum. It doesn't affect her or anything. So if we could get an explanation in writing.
Well...
Sorry, Chair, that wasn't the question. The question was about the City Deal Assembly and Board, which had been delayed from June, not the local liaison forum. Yeah.
I'll convey this question to Councillor Herbert, and then I will seek his advice as to the way that he would wish to respond to this question. I can't speak for him, but I can put the question to him. Any further public questions, please? Yes, please come forward. Maybe, perhaps if people would like, if they would like to ask the question, if they can line up here and then come this way to the microphone, then it means that it'll be quicker, rather than me having to indicate and say, please come up.
Just a quick supplementary to that, Edward Lee, Smart Garage Transport. Could Edward Lee, could Councillor Herbert also justify expanding the agenda for the July meeting to include the entire agenda of the June and July meetings? Because that now means that Milton Road, Histon Road, Camborne, Cambridge and the city centre will all be considered at one meeting. And it seems completely unreasonable to consider public questions on all of those subjects and to give true deliberation on all of those particular projects at one meeting.
Thank you. I'm sorely tempted to say that the Milton Road item on the agenda will certainly take some time, because we'll make sure that it does. However, I realise also that the other items on the agenda are important to Cambridge as a whole and to Cambridgeshire and to the people involved. So we'll ask Councillor Herbert that question too.
This is not a question, I'm afraid it's a comment, but it's also taking up the issue of the election.
To come forward to the microphone. Sorry, so we can...
things that you have to say, it may be that some of those will be made redundant, because it may be that the proposed monies to be available will have to be spent in different ways. It may be that the county consideration of new roads and things may have to be slightly different if our exports are going on, have to go elsewhere and so on. And it may be that there's just a huge change in priorities.
Thank you. I expect nobody can speculate as to the outcome of the election, and all I would say is that very often bureaucratic wheels simply do roll on, and perhaps that may occur in this instance, but we are unable to speculate. So, any further questions? Yes. Please come to the microphone so that everybody can hear. Thank you.
Is there any possibility that the outcome of the general election will have a major impact on financing the city deal?
Thank you. Again, it's a question that's speculative in terms of what will happen on the 8th of June. And I'm obviously unable to answer this. I wouldn't assume that any of my colleagues can, but perhaps Councillor Herbert may be willing to speculate. So we'll put that to him as well. Any further questions? Yes.
Grant Cox, West Park Avenue. I'm sorry, Councillor Scott. The question was not speculative. It asked if there was any possibility. That includes all outcomes of the election.
I think the relevant point to that question, I understand why people are asking it, is the city deal's already been signed.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Yes.
Thank you. So Cambridge City Council recently ruled that these local liaison forum meetings count as formal council meetings for the purposes of councillors not losing their seats when they're absent for 6 months. So I'd like to ask if the city deal and if the panel themselves agree with that determination, and I'd like to suggest we find out on what basis that was done. My interest is in getting the papers for these meetings and getting the right of access and to report on these meetings. Because we haven't had, for example, today, details of essentially the papers and the presentation in advance, which would have enabled us to think about it beforehand and to come tonight, which for councillors and members of the public to be able to ask more informed questions than we'll be able to straight after the presentation.
The fact is it's open to any local authority to decide whether a meeting will count as a public duty for the purposes of paying allowances to councillors. They have to make that a determination when the matter that's being considered is not one of the statutory responsibilities of that particular authority. So the City Council has quite legitimately done that to enable its councillors to be able to claim legitimate expenses incurred upon attending these meetings.
I agree with Michael's point, but I think what Richard's getting at is the publication of the papers in advance and making these meetings more open. It definitely does need to improve, and especially if the City Council is endorsing it. This isn't a party political point, by the way, because I'm Vice Chair of the, well, I guess too excited, because I'm Vice Chair of the Chisholm Trail Local Liaison Forum, and I found out today via an email from City Deal that that's been put back. I wasn't consulted as the Vice Chair, and the Chair wasn't consulted, so I emailed and say why. It does need to improve, especially for the councils, because the point here is that we all give up quite a lot of our time, whether we're residents association people or whether we're councillors, to get to attend these meetings and block out bits of our diaries. If those meetings can suddenly get moved, potentially it affects whether we get to stay on the council and affects our attendances more than anything, as much as it affects the ability of residents to attend. So I think I would ask if we could get something from this forum just to state that if they do need to be more prompt about publishing and better explanations of when they are rearranged. I mean, these are decisions the local liaison forum takes to rearrange a meeting by the chair and vice chair, not decisions that some autonomous thing in the city deal takes. So I would hope that my colleagues would support me and back up Richard's point.
Yes. Everybody on the panel here seems to be of the same view. Right. So we'll have to ensure that that is what happens in the future. Any further questions? Yes.
Thank you. This is a question I did submit previously when the panel were discussing the Do Optimum proposals, and it's just a question on one of the details there. So why did the panel not support closing the junction between Highworth Avenue and Milton Road to motor traffic? Why did you support keeping that open?
Perhaps would one of the Residents Association representatives like to answer?
I'm quite happy to field that one. It's simply because at the discussion groups that we had in the run-up to formulating those ideas, the overwhelming majority were not in favour of that closure. It just doesn't make any sense to those of us who live here and actually have need to access Highworth Avenue without having to go around those miles to get there.
Further questions? I'm sorry.
Could I make a point that as a resident of Highworth Avenue, the alternative to coming out of the roundabout is that one would come out onto Aubrey Road, and that junction is quite blind and quite difficult. So, as has been said here, the balance was that to get a well-defined roundabout, and I think the term the Dutch style roundabout has been used, to get a well-designed roundabout was preferable to having a lot of motor traffic coming out on Aubrey Road.
Thank you. So any further questions, or are we exhausted the questions?
Do I count as a member of the public?
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly, if you wish to ask a question, yes, Joe.
Thank you, Chair. I would be grateful if you would find out what the relationship is going to be between the City Deal and the Mayor, and who has overall charge on transport.
That's a good question.
Yes, I'm not sure whether the relationship has been worked out yet, and I mean the Mayor's only just been appointed and the devolved authority has been meeting, but that they're having to, I expect, work out where they stand, that is the Mayor and the City Deal, and they'll have to do it together, but I'll put that to Councillor Herbert also, I think.
Yeah, the conversations with the government about setting up the devolution deal made it very clear that the city deal and the devolution were totally separate entities and would stay separate for certainly the foreseeable future. Who knows when life will change, but certainly they are separate entities.
But of course it is true that the Mayor has transport within, it is his portfolio. Does it? He does have transport, the Mayor. No, but he has transport within his portfolio. I'm simply drawing attention to the fact that the question is not misput, because the Mayor does have transport within his portfolio, which surely has some relevance, one would imagine, as the questioner did, and as I imagine too. But any more questions?
My question is about mitigation measures. For when the work eventually starts on Milton Road. What kind of mitigation measures has the City Deal considered or made for when the roadworks start to prevent gridlock in the whole of North Cambridge?
Does one of the officers wish to respond to that, or will there be a response in the course of the presentation? In the presentation, right, we'll keep that on board. Any further questions from the public or from our colleagues here? No. Right, well then we'll move to the next item, which is the Chair's update. Simply, I do want to update in very simple terms, and that is that my update is to this, is as follows. It was considered that it was vital to have this meeting on the 9th of May because there had originally been a proposal that the resolutions of the local liaison forum for Milton Road would go to the City Deal Assembly and the City Deal Board in March. And that then was altered. And there was, as is understandable, some disquiet being expressed at that delay. And all I can say is that in my assessment, it was a positive delay in that the delay was caused because it was considered that there had to be more modelling based on the do optimum proposal, and therefore I would believe that that would be a positive rather than a negative delay, and it was better not to go to the Assembly and the Board with our do optimum not having been modelled to the extent that it can now be done because of the delay from March until the present time. So that's the reason for holding the meeting now, to A, inform everybody that that was the reason for the delay, and B, to have now an update from the officers when they can tell us all just exactly where we are now in terms of the modelling that has been done and is being done in the course of in the context of the Milton Road project. So now I will hand over to Chris Tunstall, who is the City Deal Interim Director of Transport, and Paul Vanderbolt, who is the Milton Road Project Manager, and they will introduce themselves so that you can then be aware of what their role is in the context of our project here, the Milton Road Project, and then we'll proceed to item 6, which is the update on the scheme development, including an outline of the scope of the assessment work in hand, options being considered, and the timeline that will be followed to the board report. So I now hand over, if I may, to Chris Tunstall and Paul Vanderbolt.
I don't know, you're going to find it difficult seeing the presentation behind you, so I don't know if people want to take camera front in, and I'll take front in. My name is Chris Tunstall. I'm the Interim Transport Director. Brought in because a review was done at the beginning of the year and identified that more resource needed to be put in to make sure that the scheme's kept on track and LLFs like this were fully engaged and fully incorporated into the process. Just a little bit of background on me. I've been 40 years in transport, a bit too long really. My home ground, home stomping ground, some may recognise the accent, is West Yorkshire or Yorkshire, Bradford, Huddersfield, round there for quite a few years, 20 years, and then went up to Durham. And I say that Durham is very similar to Cambridge. Of course, the university in Cambridge is far better, although my wife works at the university in Durham, so I've got to be a little bit careful about that. But it's a microcosm of Cambridge. Durham's only 60,000 people, 135,000 in Cambridge. When the students come in, they actually swamp the city even more than they do in Cambridge. So it is very similar, but it's a much smaller part. We have got a castle. This is my joke. We've still got a castle. You've got a hill. But we didn't sell the stone. That's still there. And that's part of the university. It's one of the university colleges. The last 10 years I've been interim, moving around the country, places like Hull, Surrey, London, TfL, some of the London boroughs, more recently Birmingham, Dunolden, East Cheshire. So I've been around a lot and really, really wanted this role because this is a real opportunity. I know to some of you it may feel as though it's something that has been done to you. That's certainly not the case now, let me tell you that straight away. You know, you're the people that actually have to live here. What we're trying to do is to make the environment far better for you. So yes, we are looking at the streetscape, we are looking at the urban realm, but what we've got to be really careful about is we're looking for 2031 and we know the traffic's going to increase and we know there's going to be about a 30% increase in congestion, and the last thing we want is Milton Road to be like